Hey guys, this video is going to go over how to make a slider. So one thing that I could do for some movement is maybe I'll have a sun. I might want the sun over here. So it's going to be centered somewhere around like 15 and 5. So I'm going to make up a quick equation. Okay. Ooh, I put 2 x's. There we go. So there's maybe my sun. I'm going to make it orange. And then if I want to have it move, I'm going to also shade it in less than or equal to. Maybe make it a little bit bigger. If I want to make it move, I can either make it move side to side. I can make it move up and down. I can make the radius change. So I'm going to show you guys those 3 options. So let's say I change it to an A, and I add slider A. So slider A, if you notice, when I play, it allows your sun to move. Now maybe you don't want it to move all the way back and forth. If you pause and click, you can change what it goes between. So maybe I want it to go between 10 and 20. I can give it specifically that amount to say I want it to move between 10 and 20. And then it will move back and forth, having that shift to the right or the x-coordinate of the center. It'll fluctuate between 10 and 20. You also have the ability, if you want, to make your slider with your y. So I'm going to do the same thing except for I want my slider to change heights. I might say 0 to 10 maybe, just to have less fluctuation. So notice that'll change the height or the y component of the center. It'll start at a 0 for y and go all the way up to a y value of 10. You can also, if you want, change the radius. So I'm going to make my slider for my radius, and maybe my radius goes between a radius of 0, and then remember it's really equal to radius squared. So a radius squared of 10 means my radius, the square root of 10 is about 3.1, so 1, 2, a little bit over 3. You guys have mostly been seeing it in terms of a squared. So now notice if I change it to its a value squared, then you see the 10 goes all the way across. Whereas if I only write the value, right, that's representing the square root of a being the radius. So keep that in mind. You might prefer to see it like this to see what the radius is. So in that case, I might change my radius from like 0 to 5, right? Because then it's not going to be quite so big. So those are a couple different movement ideas. Some students in years past who prefer having water motion, I'm going to make a wave at like 15. I'm going to do sine of x, and I'm going to make it minus 20. I'm going to shift it down, or maybe 15. I'm going to make it blue, and I'm going to say y equals that. Oops. I'm going to say y equals all this, and I'm going to make it less than or equal to shade it, right? And if I want some movement, I might want side-to-side movement or up and down movement. So there's going to be a couple different things you guys can do. If you want side-to-side movement, you can put your shift side-to-side with x. I can make it x minus a. Or actually, I have an a slider. I'm going to make it a b. You want to use different letters. Notice here, this is kind of shifting it back and forth. So that would shift it back and forth. And some students who've done something like this, if you have multiple equations like this, right, you can kind of see if you've got multiple sliders going on. Maybe I'll make this one a C, and I'll have a C slider. You can kind of see that you'll have different movement, right, if you have multiple sliders going on. You can also play around with what the step is. Like this one is going between maybe negative 10 to 10. Maybe this one only goes from negative 5 to 5, right? So that could kind of change what the look of this is. So you can do a side-to-side slider. You also could, if you wanted, do a slider up and down. So you could make this, instead of minus 15, minus a b value. And your b value could be from maybe 1, or I'm just kind of playing around with it until I get it where I want it to go. Maybe from 12 to 15 or 19, right? So you could kind of change the height of the water if you wanted. Another popular thing that students prefer to do is they prefer to put a slider as a coefficient. That's going to change the stretch, the vertical stretch or amplitude. So this one you want to have it start small, so maybe make it between 1 and 2. And you'll see that it kind of is moving it a bit, and you can kind of see that stretch, but it's like a little bit more of a slow wave. So that's if you want a little bit of a calmer wave. And same thing as before, you can do multiple waves like this moving and kind of put them together to create an overall effect, looking like the water's moving. Okay, so that's just a quick guide for a couple of different options for how you can include movement. You can also include movement for other shapes as well. It doesn't have to be these examples. You can do movement using any kind of equation if you input a slider by putting a letter. Just make sure you don't repeat letters, and at the end, make sure you do save your work.